Grayson. How are you? Hope you are well. Do you have the day off today since it is a holiday, technically? I don't know who has off and who doesn't anymore. It's always so hard to tell these days. Hey, Noah. Hey, Whitney. Morning. Morning. You do have off, Danielle. Welcome. Good to see you. We never get to have you anymore. Noah's off also. Very nice. I am not off. I will be working today for y'all. I will be making slime, of course. But that is, another story for another day. How's everyone feeling? Are we good? Are we feeling good? Every time I turn on the live, someone always needs me. That is what Becca says also. She always gets a phone call every time she turns on the book club live. Specifically, a phone call. It's just the way of it. Everyone wants to get in the way of book club, you know what I mean? They're like, hey, I just want that. I want to disturb book club. Good morning. How is everyone this morning? What did I miss? Do I want to know? I don't know. Oh, Grayson doesn't have off? You hate, oh, you're sick. Grayson, no, what kind of sick? Is it bad? I just wanted to let everyone know, right before book club, I don't think it's processed yet, but I started the upload of, I'm going to be doing a week-long series on the alternate glucose test for gestational diabetes, just so that everyone gets to see what that experience is kind of like for anyone who is pregnant or thinking about it or whatever like that. It might be interesting because I'd never seen anyone do it. Oh, really, Becca? Jeez. And I think it would have freaked me out less if I had seen someone do it before I had to. I did a test one last night, and it absolutely was more difficult and freaked me out more than I thought it was going to. So Secret Husband suggested that I record it. Yeah, I am, Ray. Secret Husband suggested that I record it not only to calm myself down, because I tend to be methodical when I'm recording things a little more than if I'm alone, and also so that other people could get the visual and the experience of what it's like to do it. If they need to do it, they won't be as freaked out as I was, I am scared of needles. I am, for sure. And so it was hard. I did a test one last night to make sure that I knew how to do it before having to start this morning, and it still freaked me out this morning, even though I did a test yesterday. But that is available for other people to see now, so hopefully that will help someone else in the experience, because I hadn't seen anyone do it yet, so I wish I had, because there also were confusing parts and pieces in it that I didn't know were going to be there, and I messed up 3 times last night in my practice one. 3 times I messed up because the instructions are just not that clear. Can you have Secret Husband operate the Lancet while you look away? I did that the first time, but the only reason I'm not doing that every time is because I can't guarantee he's going to be, no, they did not tell me to do that, Becca. We're talking about my glucose test for gestational diabetes, Grayson. I can't have Secret Husband do it because there's never going to be a guarantee that all 4 times in the day he's going to be available and not at a meeting at the time I need to do it, because it needs to be an hour after I eat, and he has a lot of meetings, so I can't bank on him being available right at the time I need to do it, unfortunately. That's the reason I wanted to be he did the first one for me, but I need to be strong enough to do it so that if he gets stuck in a meeting, I don't lose my numbers, you know what I mean? So I just didn't want to risk that. He did offer, by the by, so don't think he didn't offer that. They give you a click pen. They did give me a click pen, Grayson, yes, and it scared the muffins out of me, I'll tell you what. It definitely was not an easy process. Yes, you should definitely get up and make coffee, my darling. Definitely make the coffee. They gave me a click pen. They forgot to give me the test strips. They gave me the lancets, but no strips, so we had to run to CVS last night at like 10 p.m. and buy test strips, which was a surprise, because I didn't even know that they weren't going to be in the box. They were not in the box, just FYI. I probably should have said that in the video so that people look for them. Yeah, that was a pain in the butt. And then the ones that went with the thing I have weren't carried at that store, so we had to get a totally different one. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. They told me to use the pads, and eventually I went back to my general. She was like, what? No. Oh, why? I'm going to get coffee today. I just haven't decided where. Kind of want bagels too. Ooh, bagels are here. Becca, can you tell us why you're not supposed to use the alcohol pads? I don't know anything about this, actually. Hey, Mina, we're talking about the gestational diabetes test that I just posted. Freaky. Luckily, I brought it up to her because she's diabetic, so she knew she could fix it. But what's the issue with the alcohol pads? I literally don't know anything about it. Alters the numbers. Oh, why? Because of the blood alcohol level or something? It dries your skin. Oh. So in medicine, we're taught to use the pads for cleanliness, but if they don't dry it completely, it can read high. Interesting. Very interesting. So I'm supposed to read my levels 4 times each day for the next week, which means I have to prick my freaking finger 28 times, or fingers. I've switched fingers now. Sugars and alcohol. Yeah, it's true. Okay. Well, they did not give me any pad, like alcohol cleaning pads, nor did they tell me to use it, so I didn't do that. I just did regular. For home use, it's good enough to just wash. That's what I did. I washed my hands with soap and water, and instead of drying them with like a dish rag, which is what I would normally do when I'm just in the house to not waste paper towels, I dried my hands with a clean paper towel so that there's no chance of like any kind of contamination or anything like that. I didn't know you had it, Becca. I knew Amanda did, but I didn't know that you did. Why didn't I know that, Becca? I knew you had the test, but I didn't know you actually had it. Yeah. I did not know you had that, Becca. I really didn't. If you're wondering why I'm holding my finger all funny, it's because I have Neosporin on it. So, yes, because I had 3 placentas, my chances went way up. Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I get why you would. I'm not, no judgment from me, obviously. Listen, here's the other thing that a lot of people don't know. It has nothing to do with your health prior to pregnancy, right? Like anybody could end up with gestational diabetes, and that's the thing. Like, you never know. Poke the sides of the finger, not the pad. Yes, I've been poking from the side right here, like that. It still hurts, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm also scared of needles, so I think psychosomatically it might hurt more because I usually have a pretty high pain tolerance, but this freaks me out. I could eat an ice cream sundae, not potatoes, because of all of the stuff, because of like a spike from the potatoes, you mean? Sorry, I have the hiccups, you guys, I apologize. It's wild. The pain will not be noticeable soon, I promise. Yeah, it's such a misconception. I cried several times in the OB office about it. It is. It's such a terrible misconception. A lot of people don't know that trick. It still hurts. Yeah, it hurts less, and there's less. Yeah, that's something that we were talking about, Secret Husband and I, that like the pads of your fingers are meant to feel things on purpose, and so like, you know, freak out. So I've been doing it like just right here on the side a little bit. I gotta tell y'all, did you get that straw? If not, I'm gonna send it that straw. Not yet. I did not get that yet. I need to get that, Ray. I failed my first GT test and had to pass. You passed the 3-hour one, Olivia. Yeah. It's a weird life of phlebotomist when we practice on each other. Ooh, Grace and I could never. I literally could never. Watermelon messed up my numbers, really. But nobody but my general doctor said to do the sides. It's crazy. See, this is the thing. This is why this is one of the really beautiful and amazing parts of social media. Like, there are so many downsides to social media, but the spread of positive information that a lot of us would never have otherwise is the really good part, because there is so much shame around a lack of knowledge, and it's just because no one tells anyone. And that's part of why Secret Husband was like, maybe you should make a video about this, because we've watched so many new parenting videos, and no, we had never seen anyone do this. We had seen the glucose drink test, but you don't need instructions on how to drink a drink, but to like do this whole setup of the whole little machine and how to use it and all that. And one time I had half a tablespoon of syrup. Oh my gosh, I'm sure it just like it, you know. And a lot of people also don't know that it comes from the placenta, not from your prior to pregnancy habits. So there's a lot of shame. Everyone, like, I'm in this due date group where a lot of women are talking about like, oh, I failed the test, I'm such a failure to my baby, like all that stuff. And it's like, and they're all like, I thought I was healthy. And it's like, you probably were. You know what I mean? It's just like there's this stigma around all of these words, and it doesn't help anyone for it to be like that, you know? So that's my 2 cents on the matter. I think that we should put more of these stories out there to make sure that the next generation doesn't fall into our same pitfalls. I was 24 weeks pregnant and the nurse told me to exercise. You're like, with 3 babies, cool. It does increase your risk of having diabetes later in life though. Yeah. I have PCOS, so my situation's a little different. My dog is currently staring at you and nodding her head. That's adorable. I love that she's like, yes, Sasha, good tip. She's like, I too will check for gestational diabetes. Thank you. I talked to my doctor and she was like, no, yeah, just for public knowledge. Yeah, no, for sure. The one good thing about my PCOS is that my PCOS is not insulin resistant PCOS, but many people's is. Oh, thank you so much, Ray. That's too kind of you. My last pregnancy, I used jelly beans instead of the drink. The drink made me so sick each time. A lot of people have that issue. Kennedy, I'm also anemic. Yeah, I am. My most recent blood test came back again and showed I'm still anemic. You passed it though. That's amazing. I think I'm gonna pass. Based on the test one I did last night and the one I did this morning, but I have to do it 27 more times before they can say that I passed. But it seems probably. Are you on iron? I've been trying to do like as natural of things for it as I can, Kennedy, but my mom, who is a physician, saw my numbers from my last test and she thinks they're gonna put me on iron, unfortunately, which sucks because it hurts my stomach so much. Like, I have a really fairly sensitive stomach, and I'm not looking forward to being on iron. I've been trying to like up my consumption of like apricots and spinach and nuts, you know, things like that. Doesn't always do the trick, but I'm trying. But my belly cramps are very bad. Exactly, Kennedy, exactly. And like, we need more cramps right now, right? Seriously. Kennedy, remind me how many weeks you are. Gentle iron is not. Oh, can you send me information about that one, Grayson? I don't know about that one. I'm super anemic. If you do get put on iron, try the slow Effie. It's the slow release. Yeah, my mom and my sister are also anemic. It's a thing with all the women in our family, but they were able to. You're 31 weeks, so you're way ahead of me, Kennedy. Well, actually, I guess not that way ahead of me. No, I'm 27, so you're really not. You're only 1 month ahead. My gosh. It helps with the stomach feels. Yeah. So my mom and my sister were able to get the ferritin drip, which is an IV drip of ferritin iron instead of having to take the pill, and that was really good for them. However, prior to my pregnancy, I got prescribed the ferritin drip for the same reason that my mom and my sister did. And when I went in to go get it, because I have that like weird needle phobia, my heart rate and blood pressure dropped when they insert the IV. And so the person was like, I can't give you the medication because you don't have the blood pressure for it right now. Your blood pressure's too low. I can't put medication in this. And they sent me home. So I never got the drip. because like my brother and I both have this. It's weird. We have it very differently. My brother has that, like, I think it's called like vagal. No, I did not, Kennedy. We were just talking about that. I have to do the finger prick for 28 times in the next 2 weeks. I posted a video of it if you want to see, Kennedy, so you can see the whole like process. I have the issue with shots but not same, Jen, same. It's totally different. It's very weird. It's very weird. Yeah, definitely after this you can go. It's a long video, but it like explains the process. I take it in the morning and evening to help with my iron level. That makes sense. I'm due, hey Sydney, I'm due in early February, but do you plan to get the epidural? I don't, for this reason specifically, Kennedy, because of my bad reactions to needles and medication. I'm not planning to get an epidural because I'm afraid my heart rate will drop and then I'll have to get an emergency C-section. I do not want a C-section. So I'm just gonna muscle through it, you know, and we're gonna do what we have to do. Not due till February 23rd. Don't say that, Tiffany. Bad luck, bad luck. Can my kids please go to school? I don't think so. I think it's closed today. Your strong mom, at least being safe, your body can do it. Yeah, I think I have to, right? I did a lot of research and I debated the pros and cons of getting an epidural, and it just seems like for my body specifically, the cons are too strong. Like my mom and my sister were like, you know, yeah, my fear will help. Yeah. My mom and my sister got them, no question. And they were like, you have to do it. You can't do it without it. And I was like, I have to. I have this weird like mental block about needles. I forgot your finger was hurt and I thought you were flipping people off. Yeah, no, it's just a little hurty. Does your hospital have a tub? No, it does not. But I probably wouldn't do that anyway. Not that I judge anyone who does it that way, but it freaks me out a little. Like, I know that it's safe, but it's still like, there's a mental thing. I've given birth with and without the epidural, the easiest labor without, but pain is memorable. Yeah, yeah. My fingers have started hurting the further into my pregnancy. Really? Are they like swollen? Is that what's happening, Kennedy? I promise everyone who's here for book club, we will read, I promise. I just, you know, this is an interesting conversation. A little swollen, yeah. Have you had any like ankle or feet swelling yet? I haven't had that, so I've been okay in that regard. Have you tried wearing like compression gloves? Oh, I mean in labor, not in delivery. Oh, yeah, I would do that in labor. Yeah, that's not a problem. I love a bath. I'm a bath girly for sure. But I just don't want to give birth in a tub. It freaks me out. We all appreciate the normal chats we can get. Yeah. Yeah, here's the thing. Like, you know, we need all the normalcy we can get right now. Amen to that. And obviously you all know I say amen in a very non-religious manner. I say it more as just like a nod of approval. The water helped most with Max. Yeah, our place doesn't have it, but I'm gonna try to labor at home as much as I can before going to the hospital. That's the goal. The goal is to labor at home as much as humanly possible first, and then go. But my laboring at home, due to the location we live in, is 100% dependent on the time of day when I go into labor due to Los Angeles traffic. Yeah, exactly, Sloth. Cannot be too long because I do not want to give birth in a car on the 405 in the middle of rush hour. Not my cup of tea. No car baby. No thank you, Grayson. No thank you. Not interested in a car baby. Listen, if it happens, we'll roll with it, but I really don't want it. I'm like pretty solidly against giving birth to this baby in a car on the 405 during rush hour. That's like maybe the thing that Secret Husband fears the most. He's very, because of my GD and my size, the baby was measuring to have a planned C-section. A lot of people have that rainbow traffic baby. Yeah, Susan, we were just talking about this actually, and all the weird situations that go around gestational diabetes, because I had to start my testing today. I'd be in your, right? Seriously. If you need help avoiding epidural, I can tell you what happened to me. Just reach out. Ugh. Do I even want to know? What if I have to have it in the end? Oh God, you're scaring me, Becca. You go with whatever housing plan to make it to the hospital. Exactly. Home baby is definitely better than car baby. I agree. Will Smith Men in Black delivery is coming to mind. I haven't seen that. Now I'm thinking I don't want to. Y'all are freaking me out. Don't freak me out, you guys. I only have like less than 3 months to go before this baby comes. No freaky labor stories. No freaky. He's very excited. My husband is, he is so like good dad energy, which is weird for me because I didn't grow up with a dad. I didn't have one, so I've never experienced this except from like my grandfather, and he has a lot of my grandpa's energy and like how he takes care of the people in his life. He's very he's gonna be a very good dad. You can call me during, maybe I'll give you a push not to give in. I'm not gonna give in, Becca. I'm not gonna give in. You've got this and it's gonna be amazing. I love that. Yeah, I've delivered multiple ER babies and a home baby. I'm a bit far. Yeah, it would take a minute for you to get here, Nikki. I think, call me crazy, but maybe you won't make it in time. Here's the thing. My mom is technically an OBGYN, so if my mom is in the vicinity and we're stuck somewhere, all things considered, we have a backup plan, but with LA traffic, there's no chance that she'll for sure get to us. So, you know. Here's the thing, Becca. Mom has a lot of crazy to her, but she's a great doctor. Yeah, and she delivered a lot of babies in her time, and she had a very high success rate of no tearing, no needing for extra outside help. She never just jumps to a C-section or anything like that. So she's a very calm, cool, and collected doctor. Different when it's your kid. True, she might be freaked out because I am her baby. That's true. Your mom can guide secret husband through it on the phone if she needs to. Yeah, oh God, I don't want any of this. I want to do it in the hospital with the doctor and my doula, calm, quiet, no funny business. It's okay. We're gonna be fine. I'm manifesting fine. I'm manifesting everything being fine. It's gonna be great. Don't worry about it. Yes. Yes, Becca. Tell me. We're freaking Becca out, you guys. We're giving her a heart attack. You had a good dream finally? Oh, we love a good dream. Wait, can I tell you guys what happened is it just you and secret husband, the doula, and the doctor? Yes, Grayson, that is correct. Do you guys know who Chad Huber is? Raise your hand if you know Chad Huber, the guy who does the catfishing videos here on TikTok. He's hysterical, by the way. Absolutely hilarious. Highly recommend if you're bored, just like listening to some of his catfishing videos. They are so funny. So I've been following him for years because I think his videos are just laugh out loud funny, crazy stuff like that. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious, Becca. In my dream, secret husband had to go back to work in the office, and his coworkers and friends were all together complaining about this process, but they had like set up a room for me to make slime in their office. So I was like taking gallons of glue with us to the office, and that's really sweet, Becca. I 100% know that's going to be true. And in the dream, one of secret husband's friends / coworkers who was recently retired looked like he was Chad Huber instead of their friend. And they were all like using me as like a sounding board and a therapist about how angry they were about having to go back into the office. And I kept having to tell one of them, not secret husband was just helping me carry stuff. One of the friends, not the Chad Huber one, the other friend who looked like the real life friend, kept saying like, oh man, and like complaining about stuff. And I was like, I want to hear it. I want to listen to you. I promise I'll be right back. I just have to finish making this slime first. If you could just give me a minute. And he wouldn't leave me alone. But Chad Huber was there in my dream. I have to tell him about it because I think he'll find it absolutely entertaining. Hey Claire, long time no see in live. Oh, you mean most men don't question the paternity of their... That's insane, Amanda. Absolutely insane. Secret husband has no questions about this baby, especially after we saw that ultrasound of her feet. He was like, oh, she has my feet. Oh boy, here we go. She has his exact foot shape. It's very funny. And we also saw her earlobes. His earlobes are attached and mine aren't, and hers are detached, so she got my ears because her earlobes are detached. No, you would never, Becca, never. I have a person at work that always wants to chat, usually during book club, and you're like, excuse me, I'm busy. Most men don't. Yes, you're very lucky, Amanda. Yes, we've only seen certain little things. It looks like she has my nose and my ears, and she has his feet and his legs. So we'll see what she comes out as. But let's get to reading, because I've bored you enough with all of these pregnancy stories. But thank you to everyone who was on here and shared their experience with their gestational diabetes tests and the information, because I do think the information is useful. I'm sure Kennedy, who is in here, if she's still in here, agrees that when you're pregnant, having more stories and information about things, it feels helpful to me anyway. I know not everyone feels that way, but I am definitely in the camp of knowledge is power. To me, I like to know what's coming so that I can prepare mentally, and maybe that's because I'm spicy mentally, but like not knowing how it was gonna feel to prick my finger last night really freaked me out. I was better this morning just by a small margin, only because I knew how it felt last night and I could remember the pain. So anyway, knowledge is power, in my opinion. Man, you are never boring. That's not true. You should talk to my brother and sister if you think I'm never boring. They would beg to differ. Although I did play video games with my brother last night, and he actually looked happy and talked to me. So with my brother with words coming out of his mouth, that means that he still likes me. You guys, my brother's the most curmudgeon-y curmudgeon, and if you ask him how his day is, he goes, fine, and stuff like that. But he talked to me last night. He must like me. He must like his niece. He's really excited that she's gonna be born. Anyway, you're gonna meet him, Grayson. You're gonna love him. We were talking about you guys and how you guys are gonna have a great time together. But let's read chapter 6. Okay. Back into our mindset of witches and British people who put on magic shows. We can do this. The ghost was drifting around in the abandoned tube station, emitting a pale blue light that filled the place with a horribly eerie glow. What a start. It was still recognizable as female, but Poppy really didn't want to think about the details of why that was on a body that was barely clothed and had been desiccated to the texture of beef jerky many, many centuries ago. Poppy had seen many gruesome things since she discovered she was a witch. This ghost mummy was right up there in the top 5. But more than being horrible to look at, it was the sense of complete wrongness that came off of this thing. Some ghosts were friendly and charming, some were total assholes. None ever felt like they were sucking all the light and the good out of the world the way that this one did. The eyes were just like holes into blackness. The mouth was a chasm of horror, and the translucent claw nestled the lapis pendant in it. Its solidity somehow served to make the ghost look even less solid, even more wrong. It turned as they entered the platform, a drifting moment as if it was floating in the water. The air was very cold, and that was not normal for the central line. That was the opposite of normal for the central line. Poppy was very aware of her own breath misting the air and the rapid breathing of Alex just behind her. He was terrified, and honestly, no wonder. She was terrified herself, and she'd spent half of her life living next door to dead people. Her hair wrapped itself around her like a protective cloak, and she tucked the spent crystal into her pocket, lighting the candle. The light from the candle winked out then. Super duper. I'm very confused about why it's telling me to follow you when I do indeed already follow you. That's so weird. TikTok does these weird things where it like makes people unfollow when they didn't ever mean to. It's happened to so many people. It's so silly. I'm so sorry the TikTok does it to you. Obviously, we all know that you've been here for literally ever, so don't even stress. It's like a thing that they do. They're just, you know. Poppy instructed the muscles in her face to form a smile, and she said, "Hello, it's nice to meet you. I wonder if..." And then the ghost turned, and it screamed at her. Into the freezing air of the underground station blasted a sudden hot wind, straight from the desert, full of scouring sand and dust. Poppy's hand tightened on Alex and squeezed his back. Her hair flew up to cover her nose and her mouth, and she turned to tell him to cover his face. He drew her to him, shielding her with one strong arm. Well, not that it wasn't totally a hideous situation or anything like that, but it was quite nice to be pressed up against Alex's chest like that. The screaming stopped, and the wind died down, and Poppy looked up at Alex, who had his eyes screwed shut and his face pressed against her hair. And was her hair protecting him too? Her hair liked him. Huh, go figure. All right, she said, and began to turn back to the creature, but it screamed again, and she flung an arm up in front of her face. Alex pulled her back against him, and she took a deep breath as she dared and stamped her foot. All right, she shouted. Her mouth was full of, well, nothing. All that sand and dust melted away like snowflakes. Had it even been real? No, how could it have been real? She swiped her hair back away from her face and narrowed her eyes at the ghost. I have had just about enough of that. Thank you, she snapped. You can stop screaming right now. You're not impressing anybody. What are you doing? Alex murmured, horrified, as he stood behind her. The ghost cocked its head at Poppy. I don't know if you can understand me, she went on, because I'm afraid I don't speak ancient Egyptian, and I have no idea if you have picked up any English from all your time at the British Museum, but I'm pretty sure you can understand the tone of my voice. No, she added firmly as the ghost opened its mouth wide again. No screaming. No screaming. She was pretty sure that Alex could feel the way that her hand trembled in his. Her heart was pounding so loud that she could barely even hear herself, but she glared at the ghost until it retreated a little, hovering right above the train tracks. That's better. Now, listen. We would like that pendant back, please. She held her hand out, and behind her, Alex whispered, Oh, good. We're definitely going to die now. The ghost regarded them for a moment, and then its horrible mouth split into a wide grin, and it made a dry, crackling sound. Oh, you think this is funny, do you? This isn't yours. You know it's not yours. You know you stole it. Alex paid for it, fair and square. Didn't you, Alex? Poppy said, tugging at his hand, and he tugged right back. No, please, do not bring me into this. Too late, Poppy said cheerfully, and to the ghost she said, So if you wouldn't mind, I'll be taking it back now. She held her free hand out again, and the ghost hissed something in a language that Poppy hadn't a hope of understanding. Boy, I could really use Iris's translation help right now. I bought this series on my own on a whim, but after hearing these voices, I don't know if I trust myself to read it all. That's funny. I'm glad you like the voices that I use for them. I appreciate that people like the silly voices that I assign to these characters. I don't know if it's what the author intended, but we can hope for the best. What did it say then? Alex said in a distinctly side-of-your-mouth kind of way. What, you think I'm a babblefish? I don't know what it said. Can it understand you? Well, I was hoping the tone of voice would do the trick. Poppy said, like with dogs. Can I have the pendant, please? She added more loudly. I'm not going to ask you again. Be firm, Iris had always told her. You've got the upper hand, you can send them away, and you really shouldn't be afraid to carry out a threat, she thought to herself. The specter of the mummy drifted down to the platform, and the paving cracked under its feet. Poppy tried not to shiver at that. Not many ghosts were powerful enough to affect the physical world around them, but then this ghost had a long and terrifying reputation. People said that the man who brought the mummy back from Egypt died horribly, and so did any subsequent owner, their families, their servants, and anybody who photographed or investigated this cursed thing. Poppy was pretty sure this was all nonsense, of course, but that didn't matter. People told the story. People believed the story. They imbued the ghost with power. And now that the ghost was stalking toward them with hieroglyphics swarming across its leathery skin, muttering something threatening, a language that sounded very good for cursing. I can send you away, Poppy said, and the ghost stopped. See? It could understand her perfectly well. I could exorcise you, send you on to wherever it is that you're gonna go to. Under her breath, she muttered, Do Egyptians have a hell? To Alex, how should I know? I do Vikings, not Egyptians, muttered Alex in return. Well, everyone has some kind of hell, right? Said Poppy. Something bad? When the scales don't balance, you get sent to the bad place, right? Scales, Alex said. Wait one moment. I went on a school trip once. Your heart weighted against a feather. The ghost eyed them suspiciously. Okay, and then what happened? Poppy said. Then I don't know. I think you maybe get eaten, perhaps by a hippo or something. Well, your soul dies, said Alex. Maybe. Great. Her deep, dark threat relied on the memory of a bored child at a museum. Soul death, said Poppy to the ghost as sternly as she could. That doesn't sound very nice, does it? You want me to send you there, to the place where they judge the souls? Hearts, murmured Alex. Hearts, whatever, Poppy repeated. Do you want that?
The ghost mummy looked down at the pendant in her clawed hand, and then she looked back up at Poppy, and she laughed. Poppy took another breath in of cold, cold air, and then she squared her shoulder, disentangled her hand from the warmth of Alex's, and said, "Right then." The ghost waited. Her terrible face looked amused, as if waiting to see what new empty threat Poppy was going to deliver. But this one wouldn't be empty. "Raise that candle," Poppy said to Alex, and when he did, she willed the flame to life, and the ghost looked startled. "I'm sorry," Poppy said. "I asked you nicely. I explained the alternative. You've been frightening people for a very long time, and you have outstayed your welcome." She walked forward slowly, her heart hammering in her chest. "It is time for you to go." The ghost screamed at her again, but Poppy was ready. She kept her concentration on the candle flame, and when it didn't go out, the ghost stopped screaming, and she began to mutter instead. Poppy cleared her throat and the imaginary dust and sand, and she said in a clear, loud voice, "Your time here has ended. It's time for you to move on." Poppy had attended art school. She dated a drama student, taken acting classes. She could project her voice as well as Alex could on stage, and she'd banished more than one ghost in her time. Granted, they were usually of the variety that wanted to move on, and if they were buried in a Christian cemetery, Poppy had more than a passing knowledge of their terminology, but that didn't matter. The angry ghosts were angry, no matter where they came from, no matter how old they were, and no matter how powerful they had become. "By my will, I bind you," she called to the ghost. "I bind you to leave this earthly realm." The ghost screamed again, and the force of it blew Poppy's hair back, and she heard Alex gasp as it whipped him. "By my will, I bind you," she repeated again. "By my will, I bind you, I bind you, I bind you to leave this earth, this realm, this earthly realm. No more will you haunt London, no more will you frighten the living, nor no more will you touch the world or be seen or even be felt by it." The ghost was shouting at her now, and Poppy didn't need to understand its language to understand its meaning. The mummy was trying to curse her back, and she felt the force of it beginning to swell against her. "By my will, I banish you," Poppy shouted. "You will leave this earth, and you will go to your place of judgment." The blue light grew blinding. The desert wind howled all around her, drowning out her voice, whipping her hair into a frenzy. "By my will," Poppy screamed to it, "I banish you." The screaming grew to unbearable levels. The ghost flew at Poppy, mouth opened like a gateway to hell, foul breath enveloping her. "By my will, this will be done," Poppy howled, and with the most dreadful screech she'd ever heard, the ghost was suddenly torn apart, and something cold blasted into Poppy. All of a sudden, the wind dropped, and so did Poppy's hair, falling heavy against her shoulders. She slumped a little under its weight and felt Alex's hand steady her. This eerie blue light had vanished. The cold faded. The westbound Central line hurtled past, and all the light and sound, and when it had gone, the station was just dark and empty. "The pendant," Poppy said. "What? Poppy, are you okay?" She looked around at Alex, against whom she seemed to be leaning quite heavily. "The pendant," she said. "Did the ghost take the pendant with her?" He peered at her in the darkness. The candle appeared to have gone out again. I don't know. She sort of just exploded," he sniffed. All over us, to be honest. Ugh." He recoiled, and as Poppy's senses returned, she recoiled too. Only there was nothing to recoil from. The stink was coming from herself. Her hair was flapping limply against her shoulders, coated in something sticky and black which stunk like it had started out as an unholy combination of sewage and formaldehyde and vomit, and fermented for a few millennia. "Hey, Mary." Poppy's hand went to her mouth as she gagged, but that just made it worse, as her hand was also covered in it. Everything was covered in it. She tried to take a few breaths, and when that didn't work, she said loudly, projecting as much as she could, "I will this stink to fade from my senses." But no, that didn't eliminate it. It did make things a little bearable, though. She grabbed Alex by the shoulders and repeated the same thing in his favor, and he straightened abruptly. What did you do?" "I made you nose blind. It's not gonna last, but come on, let's get out of here." "Wait," said Alex. The pendant." Right, the reason that they'd even come here in the first place. Poppy fished the finding crystal out of her pocket and let it guide her to the pendant, but when she reached the edge of the platform, she groaned. "Oh, can you bring the candle?" she said, and Alex shone his light, which was probably more effective in this moment. The pendant lay smashed on the tracks, obliterated by the train. A few shards of lapis shone sadly in the light amongst the shreds of silver that were all that remained of Poppy's handmade necklace. "Did it work?" said Alex. Did destroying the pendant work on destroying the curse?" Poppy concentrated. She felt absolutely bone-weary. "Yeah, I think so," she said. "I can't feel its magic anymore, so I guess it's gone." "Hallelujah," said Alex, and she was inclined to agree. "Let's get the hell out of here, then." She agreed with that, too. However nose-blind they were to themselves, the spell didn't work on anyone else. The few people they met in the car park on the way back to daylight recoiled in disgust, and out in the open air, people crossed the street just to get away from them. As Poppy stood gulping blissfully in the clean air, a small child asked its mother, "What was wrong with those two people?" "I don't know, love," said the mother, casting them filthy looks. "Some people are just less fortunate than the rest of us, I suppose." Oh, God. And she had to get all the way home before she could even take a shower. Her hair was drooping badly, and Poppy didn't think she could take this stink on the train or a bus or a cab was obviously out of the question. Maybe she could hire a bike, but the thought of cycling all the way to Highgate made her want to cry right now. "It's true, Anya, I did do that." Banishing the ghost had really taken a lot out of her, and her adrenaline was draining away from her quickly. "Come on," Alex said. "My place isn't that far." Your place?" He gave her a crooked smile. He wasn't covered in mummy goo nearly as badly as Poppy was, but he was a lot taller and more broad than she was, and she hadn't been much of a human shield for him. "Relax, Rapunzel. There's 2 bathrooms, and I'll lend you some clean clothes." No short walk had ever seemed longer than this one. When they finally squelched up the steps to Alex's flat, he showed her to the bland spare room with its own shower, and she nearly cried. The hot water was plentiful, and the little guest bottles of shampoo and conditioner got thoroughly emptied, and Poppy had never used so much soap in her entire life. When she emerged blissfully clean, she found a t-shirt and sweatpants laying on the bed, and her own disgusting clothes were finally removed. She didn't know what Alex had done with them. Preferably he'd burnt them. Shame. That had been a nice coat, actually, but... And then her phone was ringing. Wait, wasn't that her phone ringing? Damn it. She'd left her phone in the coat pocket. Hopefully Alex hadn't done anything drastic with her clothes just yet. Poppy wrapped the towel more firmly around herself and opened the bedroom door and came face to chest with a nearly naked Alex. What a chest it was. If she thought she had seen it live on stage the other night, it was nothing like the real thing being 6 inches from her nose. He had abs like a ladder that she badly wanted to descend, and those indents above his hip bones made her throat go dry. She wondered what bold, stark tattoos on his chest would taste like. He wore a towel low on his hips, and the fabric clung as lovingly as Poppy wanted to. Her blood pounded. Her skin prickled. There was a ringing in her ears. Poppy? A bead of water trickled down from his long, wet hair over his pectorals. She was definitely staring now. She might have been panting also. She wanted to climb him like a tree. "Yes," she said in a whimper. Yes to anything, to everything, she thought. "Your phone is ringing," he said. Oh, so it just wasn't her ears ringing. Poppy blinked and her face was heating up, and she reached out for the phone that he was holding to her. Her gaze darted guiltily... Yeah, right, Becca? Her gaze darted guiltily to his, and he was smiling. Well, damn him for that smile. When his fingertips grazed hers, she shivered all over and dropped the phone that she'd just taken from him, fumbling and swearing as she nearly lost her towel bending down to pick it up. Is everything all right?" said Alex, as he looked down at her from his excellent chest and amazing stomach and sinful hip indents. And dear God, she had to move or she was going to cop an eyeful of whatever was under that towel. And given what that she'd felt last night, she knew it was pretty impressive. And, yep, sure, yep, yep, I am fine, she babbled, clutching her phone. "Poppy!" The voice was coming from the other end of the phone screen, and to her horror, it wasn't just a voice, but a face, too. A video call. What kind of psychopathic person did that to someone unsuspecting? A video call. It was her cousin Sarah. That was who. Poppy must have accidentally answered the call when she picked up the phone, and now a super polished Sarah was looking up at Poppy from the least flattering angle in the world, all double chins and overexcited hair. "Am I interrupting you two?" Her cousin looked amused. Nope, Poppy yelped. As Alex said, no, not at all. Hi, hello, I'm Alex. Well, hello, Alex, said Sarah rather too flirtily for someone who had just gotten engaged. I'm Poppy's cousin, Sarah. I can call back later if you like. The question was so leading that it should have come with reins. Poppy scowled and said, no, Alex was just going to get dressed. And then she felt her entire body blushed and she realized how that sounded. Alex stepped back, laughing, and Poppy tugged miserably at her own towel as she crawled back into the bedroom. At least the towel hadn't fallen down. Not that Sarah would have noticed with his magnificence standing right there like a gleaming god. Sarah whistled. Her lipstick was immaculate. Wow, Pops, he's gorgeous. Poppy said incisively and managed to add, yes. Go on then, is he a drama student? What? That's your usual type, isn't it? Oh, wait, is he a drummer? I remember you telling me drummers have the best upper body definition, even when no one knows who they are. That was Sarah all over. She could make you feel like a piece of you-know-what, even as she was paying you a compliment. And sure, yes, Poppy had dated a whole bunch of drama students when she was a student herself, but making jewelry isn't the sort of thing that Sarah considered a proper degree, and the same extent to the sort of students that Poppy had been hanging out with. A few years ago, she had a fling with a student whose father was a baronet, and she thought that that might have impressed Sarah. But of course, her cousin was already seeing an Olympic athlete. And then it turned out that Edward was marrying a supermodel, because that's what one did when one was going to inherit a baronetcy, apparently, and girls like Poppy were just for fooling around with. Poppy had told them that she was the one to dump Edward, and she knew nobody believed her. A friend, eh? Well, are you bringing this friend of yours to the party on Friday? Poppy blinked and stared at the wall for a moment as she flickered through her mental calendar, which was at best a stack of scrawls of short notes on the back of some crumpled receipts. Sorry, yeah, Friday? She ventured when nothing came up. My engagement party. You never RSVP'd, so I thought I would check since it is in your neck of the woods. Highgate, right, said Poppy for a moment, and then she tried to picture Sarah with her nude heels and Kate Middleton Blowout hosting a party in Highgate Cemetery. No, of course not that neck of the woods. What is there in Highgate anyway? No, listen, it's at the Cutley Sock. Memories of fire and panic flickered across Poppy's brain. The venerable ship going up in flames in public dismay, and Iris telling her it really wasn't her fault. Hey, Shelley. That's in Greenwich, she said dumbly. Yes, of course, I know it's in Greenwich. I booked it. Got so lucky. There was a cancellation. Have you been since it's reopened? It's so nice. There's this event space underneath, like right underneath the ship, and... She prattled on, and Poppy tried to think of an excuse, any excuse, not to go. The fact that she'd been given only 3 days' notice ought to have done it, but after the day that she'd had, her brain refused to come up with any creative solutions. She was just trying to muster a coherent excuse something to do with Iris, and then a knock came on the door. Poppy, are you decent? Sarah broke off and gave Poppy's damp hair and towel a knowing look. Oh, I'm sure he's seen you in less, she purred. Then louder she shouted, Go on, come in, Alex. Poppy's got nothing to hide from you. Poppy tried desperately to signal to either of them that this wasn't the case, but the door was already opening, and Alex, fully clothed this time, thank God, her heart couldn't take much more of that golden skin, looked inside. Yeah, seriously, Becca. His damp hair was loose on his shoulders and his feet were bare, and the smile that he gave her was warm. Nope. Turned out fully clothed was no help either. The man could put on a cow onesie complete with udders and could probably still seduce a nun without breaking a sweat. Oh, the way you're looking at him, Pops. Sarah put her hand to her heart. I haven't seen you this smitten since that barmaid with the tongue piercing. Moving swiftly on right now, Poppy said as Alex's eyebrows rose. Yes, sorry, to business, said Sarah briskly. Just confirming numbers with the caterer. Will you be coming along, Poppy, alone, as usual? Or are you bringing Alex here? Alex glanced quickly at Poppy, and something paused over his face that she didn't entirely understand. Yeah, of course, he said. I wouldn't miss it. What had possessed him to say that? Poppy looked appalled, and honestly, he couldn't blame her. She made it very clear that she didn't like him in the slightest, and here he was, muscling in on some family event. He waited until she finished her call, and then told her that she didn't need to take him. Only the way that she looked when she saw who was calling, the deject audible in her voice when he couldn't hear her words, and the way that her cousin had said, "alone as usual." Suddenly, Alex wanted to be her knight in shining armor, rushing forward with cohorts gleaming to save her from overbearing relatives. He wasn't entirely sure what a cohort was, but he'd polish his when he found out. How do you not know what a cohort is? Is he okay? It's just a group. Maybe there's another meaning that I'm not aware of in like British slang or something. Anyway. Besides, there was the small matter of how Poppy looked when she was only wearing a towel, a clear reminder that was of her writhing in his arms last night, and most importantly, how she looked at him as if she wanted to lick him all over, which he would be more than fine with. Very, very, very much more than fine with. Get it together, Alex, he thought to himself. It was his job to be hot and sexy and make women fancy him. Poppy was clearly just reacting to the carefully sculpted torso that he and his trainer had worked so hard on, and the smolder that he'd been practicing in the mirror until it became second nature. She didn't like him. She'd made that abundantly clear. A small voice inside him ventured that they never actually liked him. None of them did. Women threw themselves at Alex, and sometimes literally he enjoyed what they offered. But then they got dressed, and they had nothing more in common. Even Yelena, for all her hysterics, had never seemed to actually enjoy his company outside of the bedroom. She treated him with no more warmth than she did Jono. Alex was a trophy, and he knew it. No slang definitions? All right, well, the more you know. So why not be Poppy's trophy for a night? On the phone, Sarah was trilling about the engagement party, which she'd organized a jazz combo and a low-calorie menu. Well, because Caspar's finding things rather difficult now that he's not training every day, she added, he's used to eating massive bowls of spaghetti, and once he stopped riding, he just piled on the pounds. The press has been very cruel to him. He stopped riding completely? Poppy said as Alex stood in the doorway trying to remember what he'd come in here for in the first place. Yes, well, competitively. He really doesn't have the time these days, but he's still out on Vincent a couple of times a week. Wait, said Alex as her words caught his attention. Vincent? Caspar? Caspar is Sarah's fiancé, Poppy explained, and Vincent is his horse. He's was an Olympic equestrian. Alex goggled at her. Caspar de Bruyne, your cousin is marrying Caspar de Bruyne? Yes, Poppy sighed. Oh, are you a fan? Said Sarah. Yes. Alex moved around so that he could see the phone, and Poppy reluctantly made room for him to sit beside her on the bed. He's amazing. His fitness routines are absolutely off the charts. I've been following his YouTube workouts for ages now. Oh, well, I'm sure he'll be pleased to hear that, said Sarah in a manner of someone who did not approve of YouTube workouts. Alex was still going on. The perfect round he rode at the Rio Olympics 6 weeks after dislocating his shoulder. It was immense. And the music, I mean, with a horse called Vincent, you've got to go for Starry, Starry Night. The song is actually called Vincent, Sarah corrected him, and Poppy muttered something that sounded a lot like, but the horse's name isn't. Oh, I was in the floods, Alex told her. My manager thought I was mad crying over a damn horse race on the telly. Sarah's face froze a little at the use of the phrase horse dancing, and then suddenly she remembered the dejection in Poppy's voice when she talked with her cousin, her polished, suspiciously well-lit cousin who had an expensive haircut and was marrying an Olympic athlete and a national hero, and made fun of Poppy for being single. Poppy hunched up tight beside him, her hair lying flat and meek against her bare shoulders, fingers nervously pulling at the thread of her towel. Poppy, who had just vanished a centuries-old ghost with nothing more than a candle and the force of her personality. Poppy, who was kind and clever and funny and who kissed like a goddess, honestly. And here I am talking about your fiancé, he said, putting an arm around Poppy, when I have the most amazing woman in the world right here beside me. Well, we don't need gold medals, do we, my love? Poppy's eyes went very big, and then she suddenly turned on a smile and said, no, of course we don't, darling. Right, said Sarah, unconvinced. Yes, so sorry. Did Auntie June mention she didn't even mention that, she didn't mention Alex, so I just, oh, well, yeah, you know, Mom, she doesn't like to brag, said Poppy. Doesn't like to make it about her. Alex cheered internally at that, and he gave Poppy's shoulders a squeeze, and she looked back at him adoringly. Sorry, they detected inactivity in the live and wanted to confirm that I was a human. Still human, much to TikTok's dismay. And besides, she added, still gazing at Alex in a manner he couldn't quite get used to, I'm not going to share the details of my love life with my mom. I mean, she doesn't need to know all the She glanced down at herself wearing nothing but a towel in the middle of the afternoon and then let her gaze trail lingeringly over Alex's body. He lost his breath for a moment, and then he made himself focus on Poppy coyly to her cousin. I'm sure I don't need to tell you what it's like, right? Can't keep your hands off each other, eh? Wait, sorry. That was Poppy who said that, which makes it a little less creepy. He lost his breath for a moment, and Poppy said, I'm sure I don't need to tell you what it's like, right? We can't keep our hands off each other. Absolutely not, Alex said, leaning against her. Was it his imagination, or did her hair feel like it was stroking his arm now? Get us in a room alone together, and whoa, it gets very un-G-rated. Yeah, totally X-rated, Poppy agreed. Like this afternoon, literally nothing that's happened since I walked in here could be shown before Watershed. Alex grinned at that because she wasn't lying, not in the slightest. No, definitely not a thing, he said. Remember that one thing that you did with the candle? Oh yeah, you loved that, didn't you? I think I'll remember it until the day I die, Alex promised, and her violet green eyes sparkled at him. And we just couldn't get back here quickly enough, she said. No, clothes were off the moment that we walked through the door, Alex continued. Mine are totally ruined, Poppy said, and Sarah cleared her throat loudly. Alex blinked. Right, yes, this wasn't real, or at least the spin they were putting on it wasn't real, but it was really fun to torment her cousin. Alex really couldn't remember the last time he'd had this much fun with, well, honestly, anybody. Sorry, Sarah, Poppy said, cuddling into Alex's body like the way he liked far too much. I got a little carried away there. You know how it is. And from the brittle smile that Sarah gave them, Alex wondered if she actually did know how it was. Yes, well, she said. Oh dear, look at the time. I've got to go. So busy, you know. Got a call with the Hague in 10 minutes. I'll text you the details about Friday. And then Sarah was gone. Poppy sat with her phone outstretched for a moment longer, and then she deliberately closed the app and left it face down on her bed. Right then, she said. Alex realized he was still sitting there with his arm around her bare shoulders, and she was still snuggled right up against him. And while he was fully dressed, she very much was not, and her towel really didn't cover much at all, and her hair was silky against his arm, and her eyes were big and lovely, and her chest heaved, and... Listen, you're a better actor than I realized, she said, and the way she moved away from him was so very subtle, but so very clear. Alex cleared his throat and moved the opposite way, wondered if he dare stand up or if it would be really obvious how his body had reacted to hers. Yes, he said lamely. Well, that is what I do, acting. Her laugh was unconvincing. Alex risked standing up and made it to the door before she said, Thank you. Thank you for playing along like that. Sarah really gets the upper hand, and I guess it was just nice to... Her voice trailed off. I bet Sarah hasn't ever banished any ghosts and ended any curses, Alex said, glancing back at the smile she gave him. Just a tiny one. And then it faded. No, she's probably just put a human rights abuser behind bars or something really cool like that. She said, You don't have to come on Friday, by the way. I'm sure you're busy. I should be, he thought to himself. What with my rehearsals and the 7:30 show? Yeah, no, schedule's wide open, Alex said, and Poppy winced. Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot. He shrugged. Oh, it's not your fault. Poppy screwed up her face a little. It kind of... Alex held up a hand. Look, I'm not getting into this with you. Cursed amulet, whatever. It's all over now. Yelena will recover, the theater will dry out, and dear God, he hoped the insurance was going to cover it. And look, we'll come back with the show as soon as we can rebook, and maybe you can even give me some pointers there, huh? Pointers? Yes, you are a witch. You did say that, Alex said, and it still felt very surreal for him to admit that. But how could he ever deny it after what he'd seen and felt today? Axel Storm employed every trick in the book, and several that weren't in the book, and he could still never replicate what Poppy had pulled off in the abandoned tube station. Or could he? Alex had done some street magic back in the day when street magic was still cool, and he knew there was a remarkable amount that you could fake on a seemingly random street with seemingly random passers-by. She needed a lot of planning and a lot of crew, but maybe... Yes, I'm a witch, said Poppy tiredly, a witch who has never perfected even a laundry spell, so if you don't mind, I'm going to take my disgusting clothes and get them home before the smell sets in. She paused. Do you want me to take yours and wash those too? Alex cocked his head. I think I can probably figure out the wash machine here, he said. I wasn't always a rock star magician, you know. Once upon a time, I did have to do my own laundry. Oh, the horror, Poppy said dryly, getting to her feet and clutching her towel carefully. Look, I'll send your clothes back, or I'll drop them off, or why don't I wash these for you, said Alex. And the flat did have a washer-dryer. He could probably manage to wash her clothes without shrinking them or turning them pink or something like that. Said Poppy, and she looked panicked again. No, best not to. I tend to have an effect on technology when I'm feeling rattled. I'd probably make something explode or flood the street or something like that. Alex wanted to say that it would be worth it for a few more hours of her company, but he could tell she was desperate to get away, and did she really dislike him that much? Oh, sure, he said. Well, I'll get a bag for them then. Poppy rubbed her face, and she looked terribly tired all of a sudden. Alex wondered how exhausting banishing a ghost really was. Hey, Alex, she said as he turned to go. Thank you for, she waved at her phone, for all that. You really didn't have to do that. He smiled. No, listen, it was fun. I had fun. He hesitated and said, look, can we possibly start over? I feel like we really got off on the wrong foot yesterday. I would really like to actually go to your cousin's party with you. Because you idolize her fiancé? Said Poppy dryly. No, said Alex defensively, and then added more honestly, well, I mean, though he did win a gold medal with a dislocated shoulder. Come on now, that's pretty impressive. Poppy rolled her eyes. Oh, God, such an overachiever. Alex laughed. Look, I bet he couldn't banish ghosts, though. She gave a tired shrug. Look, I'd like to go with you, Poppy. I really actually would. He watched her take a breath and let it back out slowly. Sure, she said, with a very distinct lack of enthusiasm. Why not? You'll fit right in. Alex had no idea what she meant by that, but it was clear that she wanted him to leave her alone now. Do you want me to call you a cab? He said, and she nodded. All right, I'll get out of your hair then, he said, and he left her in peace. Well, what a start to the week with that book. My goodness. Someone with the name Ghoul in their username just entered, but too late. We already banished the ghosts in this chapter. Too late. All right, so I'm going to scooch because I have a lot of slime to make today. Don't forget, we have Roll for Slime at 2 p.m. Pacific time today. If you are on Patreon and you need to sign up for a Roll for Slime, a November birthday, a regular one is a great chapter, Avery. Feel free to sign up for those now. We'll be on at 2 p.m. And that is the whole kit and caboodle. Roll for Slime is on here, Avery. Yes, that's correct. It's here. Friday or Saturday. I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday. We did After Dark on Friday or Saturday. There's another After Dark coming up later in the month, but we usually only do one After Dark per month, but this month we had 3, which is very exciting. Okay, I will see you all in a couple of hours. I gotta go do all the stuff to prepare for that because we have new charms, new lists, all sorts of stuff came from Shira, so I want to show you guys all the new stuff. So much fun. And I hope you have a great rest of your day until then. Bye, guys.